turbo and the cam.
Hey, what's going on, content creators? My name is David Parada, and I'm here to just kind of teach you a little trick to kind of help your edits just be a little better and your sequences come together a little bit easier. A lot of you guys are editing with mixed frame rates. Now, if you don't know what that is, maybe I'll try that on another tutorial on another day. But those of you that are filming these games or these recaps, and you guys are using mixed frame rates, so you're using 60 frames a second, 30 frames a second, 24 frames a second. We all know that it looks different, okay? It looks different on screen, and sometimes you're like, man, why does it look like that? Well, it's probably because that your timeline is not set up the way it needs to be, okay? So we have a clip here. This clip is in 60 frames a second. Okay, it says 5994, but it's 60 frames. Okay, so it's not in 24 frames, so it doesn't really look cinematic. Something's just off about it when I look at it. So what I need to do is I need to come down here. I need to go to sequence. Okay, those of you who use Premiere, okay, you need to go to digital SLR because that's what we use. Canons, Nikon, Sony, Panasonic GHs. Okay, you need to go there and you need to click 24 frames a second, digital SLR 1080p, 24 frames. Okay. When I do that and I re-import that clip, okay, I'm going to go and keep existing settings. We want to keep the existing frame rate settings at 24 frames. And now, even though that it's in 60 frames a second, but my timeline is at 24 frames, it's going to play back at 24 frames a second because that's what I told it to do. So now it's got that choppy cinematic look that we like. Okay, and this can work for anything. So if you're filming, whether you're filming in 60 frames a second or you're filming in 120 frames a second for those higher end DSLRs, when you want to do like those speed ramps and stuff, this has to be done that way or else it's not going to work. It's going to look muddy. It's going to look choppy, okay? So 24 frames a second timeline. So you want your timeline, your sequence settings to have a 24 frame a second timeline. Does that make sense? Okay, because when you add a 60 frame a second and you put it in there versus a 24 frame a second, when you put it in there, when you put both clips in there, it's going to look cinematic, okay? Now you guys are asking me, well, why don't I just film everything in 24? Well, you want to do slow-mo, right? So we put this in here and it's playing back at 24 frames. It's got that choppy look, that 24 frames cinematic look, okay? We can go here and we're going to go to effects tab, time ramping speed, okay? Now we're going to come over here to our keyframe and let's just say right there, we want to make it start doing slow-mo. Okay, we go there and there. Okay, add another keyframe. We're going to drop this. If you're using 60 frames, it needs to go to 40% for it to match right. If you're speed ramping, it needs to go to 250 if you want to speed ramp forward. Man, I can't even get this right. Bam. So look, it's going to play 24 frames a second, then it's going to go to slow-mo, then it's going to go back to 24, or then it's going to go back to 24 frames a second. So here we go. And it still looks smooth. It's just an example. Thank you guys for watching this. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I wish somebody would have told me this before I started getting into what I'm getting into. But thank you guys so much for watching.